movie nerds, and welcome back to Cinematic Sarcastic, a podcast that talks all things movies and television. I'm Natalie, and I'm your host. On today's episode, we are going to talk about FX's new television series, Shogun. Now, I'm going to just be completely honest. I don't have anything negative at all to say about Shogun. Maybe the only bad thing that I have to say about this show is that I'm irritated that I don't have the entire series to binge. So for anyone who is not familiar, Shogun is an adaptation. It's kind of a remake, reboot, if you will, of a novel. I believe there was an original one of this made, I want to say in the 70s, maybe the 80s. And then this is just another kind of version of it. This is the only time I feel like I have not been mad about them and by them I mean Hollywood, remaking something, because it has to be a labor of love. I feel like, for sure. Shogun is a story that takes place in 1600 in Japan. We have a character named John Blackthorne who essentially is English, but he is on a ship kind of sailing for Holland, I believe, for the country of Holland, in attempts to set up trade routes with Japan. And at this juncture in history, Japan and the Portuguese are in trade with one another, and Portugal is kind of keeping Japan a secret, keeping the route there secret, so that they can kind of essentially own Japan. Now, the series itself, I am not sure what, if any, of the series of Shogun or the novel itself was at all historically accurate, but I have to say the show is just so well done. It's so beautiful. I think that Shogun has to have one of the most beautiful opening sequences that I have ever seen. I really used to think that like the Game of Thrones sort of opening sequence of each of the different houses and how it shows it on the map was one of my favorites, and it still is, but I think that Shogun's opening sequence has knocked it like right out of first place. It is just so stunning. All of the actors are quite great in this. Hiroyuki Sanada obviously is great. He has been great in everything that he's done. And I feel like Shogun also, just as an aside, is sort of proof that if you have a good team and a good script and you really are trying to make something great, that it could make the actors that you are signed up with, right? So Anna Sawai, who is in this film, she plays a character named Lady Mariko. She is also in the new Godzilla television series. And I have to say, I did not like her in the television series. I thought she was whiny. I didn't like her character. It kind of took away my enjoyment of the series itself while she was in it. But her character in Shogun, I completely love. Like, the writing is different. How she is presented as a character is completely different. Like, she's just, it's like night and day looking at the exact same actress, but seeing the differences in just the writing alone, what that can do if an actor is given something really incredible to portray. And I think she does a remarkable job. Like, some of the sequences in this are harder, sort of emotional aspects of just the way of life that was happening at that time that I cannot even comprehend having the mental strength to get through. And she just does it with this like regalness and just this, I don't even know what the word is, like this pride, you know, in self, not necessarily like pride in the way that you would think as a negative trait someone would have, but just this immense, I don't know, pride in who she is and in her country and in her duty and all of that kind of stuff. It's just incredible, some of the things that the characters portray in this show. And I will have to say, Shogun has gone darker than I anticipated. I was not necessarily that familiar with the source material. I've never read the book, for instance. And I was sort of expecting something along the lines of The Last Samurai, that movie with Tom Cruise. And this one, I will have to say, is like kicked up a notch in terms of just some of the horrendous things that are going on here because of like the politicalness of everything and just the difference in kind of the structures of the countries. For instance, like in the very first episode, there's only 2 episodes, and this doesn't really give much away, or I hope it's not a spoiler, but there is a character that gets boiled alive, which I was not ready for or anticipating having to like see that or be aware of that being a thing that people are weird, man. Things that we will do to each other. But I am really loving Shogun. This is one that I would highly, highly recommend. Absolutely 100%. If you are not watching this, definitely tune in. As of this episode going up, I think the 3rd episode will be out at the same time or during the same day. So definitely catch up if you have not been watching this one. I absolutely love it. I think the sets are beautifully designed. I think the costuming is beautiful. The actors are all doing an incredible job. I wasn't necessarily sold after the first episode, but watching the first and second, I'm in it. I wasn't quite sure exactly where the show was going, and now that kind of that second episode has given you like, oh, this is what's going on and this is why we're in this scenario, I'm definitely in it. I really love this one. I really think this might be one of the best of 2024. I know we're still early in the year, but I would challenge I would challenge any other television show to do something as great as Shogun, because this has got everything. So those are my thoughts on Shogun. I would love to know what you guys think of this one. If you have watched it, subscribe if you want to join the Movie Nerd family, and I hope to see you in the next episode.